Imagine a 6-year-old little girl asleep in her bed when suddenly she's jarred awake by loud bangs. She first believes she may be dreaming, but as fear begins to rise in her little body, she closes her eyes tightly, clinging to her teddy bear, hoping that it will all go away. She then feels gentle nudges. As she opens her eyes, she sees her big brother standing there. He leans down and whispers, "Hey, Buffy, get up. Help me. Something has happened." She realized then that this was not a dream. As she slowly rises from her bed, taking her place next to her brother, as they tiptoe down the hallway to their parents' bedroom, Buffy watches as her brother slowly turns the doorknob, opening the door. There, before them, the most horrific sight that any adult human being should see, let alone 2 small children. 6-year-old Buffy and her 8-year-old brother had just discovered the bloody bodies of both their parents, inflicted with gunshot wounds. So tell me something. How is it that nearly 40 years later, that same girl Buffy is standing here at this very moment? It is through grit, grace, and resilience. Today, as scary as it is, I'm going to be the most transparent I have ever been. Why? Because I want to share with you 3 values that have served in the discovering and fulfilling of my life purpose. These are the 3 values that I hope you take with you after hearing my story. Grit. Life is going to do what life does. It's your responsibility to make the right response and follow through. Grace. Show yourself some compassion by forgiving yourself for not knowing what you didn't know. The resilience to let go and realize that you are not what happened to you. Children are resilient. How many of you heard that statement before? I'm sure many of you. But is that really a true statement? Can you believe that after I witnessed that horrific incident, that I was never given any professional counseling? That event was treated as if I had fallen off my bike. Get up, girl. Dust yourself off. Get back on your bicycle. I was supposed to go on as if it had never happened. Oh, because children are resilient, right? Researchers have shown that childhood trauma occurs more often than you think. Nearly 2/3 of the kids report at least one traumatic event by the age of 16. Some of those kids become depressed, begin using alcohol and drugs, and some of them become involved in risky sexual behaviors. At the age of 13, I was pregnant with my first child. When my aunt heard this story, that I was pregnant and no longer attending school, she encouraged my family to leave my hometown of Greenville, Mississippi, to move with her to Norfolk, Virginia. She knew of an alternative school for pregnant teens that could support me in staying in school. Her act of love and concern would change the whole trajectory of my life. When I arrived in Norfolk, I was enrolled at Coronado, and I can tell you the first day, all of us were seated in one large room, and all the girls looked just like me, young, black, and pregnant. But on this particular day, they decided that they were going to share some statistics. And 3 of those statistics caught my attention. The first one was, a teen mom has the highest infant mortality rate and more than likely to deliver a low birth baby. I thought to myself, The second one was, African American teen moms are more likely to be dependent on government assistance than live a successful, independent life. Okay. But this third one, they shared. The firstborn male to a teen mom is more likely to be incarcerated or murdered at a young age. That dug deep because I was carrying a baby boy. It was that day that I vowed that this won't be my story. I was determined to outrun those numbers. June the 10th, at the age of 14, I gave birth to a nearly 10-pound baby boy. You heard me right, nearly 10 pounds. And I thought to myself, one statistic down, couple more to go. And as I was recovering, laying in my hospital bed, holding my son, I was in clear view of something I have never seen before. You know what's funny? God has a funny way of orchestrating things. Because by faith, I was in clear view of a historic black college, Norfolk State University. As I held my baby boy in my arms, close, and I looked in his eyes and I said, "You're going to college. You will be successful. I promise you that." So as me and him began building a life in Norfolk, learning of all the vast opportunities that was available for us, life took a drastic turn for the worse. Due to circumstances beyond my control, we were forced to move back to Greenville, Mississippi. That was the last place I wanted to go. There was limited opportunities for me and my baby. 37.3% of the population lived below poverty line. And we all know that impoverished cities is breeding ground for violence, alcohol, and drug abuse. That wasn't the life I wanted. I felt like I was standing in quicksand, and I was slowly sinking. And before you knew it, I was thrust back into survival mode, back in Greenville, Mississippi. And some days, no matter how much grit I had, felt like the walls was caving in on me. And just when I was about to give up, my grandmother would tell me, God's grace and your faith will see you through. You just have to keep going. It was my grandmothers who taught me that God's grace was sufficient. She also told me that I need to show myself some grace and compassion for not knowing what I didn't know. it was my grandmother who taught me those valuable lessons. But as I was learning those valuable resources, something still felt like it was missing. I just couldn't figure out what that hole in my heart was. I was yearning for something. And as I marched across the stage at the age of 18, I was pregnant again. This time, I was pregnant with a baby girl. And I knew I had to change because I wanted to be the perfect role model for my babies. I wanted to be that one that they can look up to and say, yo, that's my mama. I want it better. So I decided that I was going to take on multiple low-wage paid jobs. And also I had to receive government assistance to maintain. And every time I stood in that line to receive my government benefits, that statistic that I heard at the age of 13 kept playing over and over and over like a broken record. This wasn't my life. This wasn't what I planned. I wanted better. I had to do better. I had to do something different. So brilliant me, I decided that I was going to do something really crazy, okay? February the 7th, 2002. That would be a day I would never forget. I decided that I was going to drive 417 miles with 2 kids and $2,000 in a car that the repo man was looking for. I was coming to Arlington, Texas. Now, I don't know if I was brave or if that was my moment of insanity. But your girl had to do what she had to do. Because I wanted different. When I arrived in Arlington, it was like a breath of fresh air. It was like I could smell the opportunities brewing here in Arlington. But don't get me wrong. I had some challenges too, because sometimes there was more mud than it was money. But me, God would always send me a ram in the bush. And that ram was often Miss Tilly and the Mission of Arlington. They provided me and my kids the resources to carry on. Miss Tilly, I don't know what it was, and I don't know what it was about the Mission of Arlington, but every time I showed up, they act like that was the first time they ever met me. And I was happy because that was her showing grace and compassion without judgment. But this is one thing that I love. Before I could walk out the door, the Mission of Arlington staff would pray for me. That prayer that they provided me was like my grandmother's whispers, reminding me that grace and faith will carry me through. So as I began learning Arlington and moving around and all the opportunities I started obtaining higher paying wage jobs, and I was able to become self-sufficient. But wait, y'all know I'm that girl, I'm crazy, right? I was still wanting more. I wanted that American dream. I wanted to be a business owner. Not just any business owner. I wanted to own a child care center where I could care for kids. I wanted to give them the love and support that I needed at their age. After doing my research, put in a call to the city of Arlington. And the lady on the other end She was telling me about permits and zoning and code and mind you, she didn't sugarcoat anything. As I sat on the other end of that phone, I said, well, there goes my American dream. But before she could hang up that phone, she said, girl, come here tomorrow about 9 o'clock and meet me at my office. I said, yes, ma'am. 9 o'clock the next day, I'm sitting in front of her and she's still going in. Sugarcoat nothing, codes, and you have to do this and bring it up to code and this, that. And I said, yes, ma'am. And then she said, well, what is it you want to do again? I shared with her. I shared with her my story, and I explained to her that I wanted to make an impact in the community. I wanted to love and nurture kids as Arlington had nurtured me. She leaned in, she said, what? I said, yeah, you heard me. She said, I got you. That was God's grace. Pam Smith, I can say her name now. Pam Smith is responsible for the lady you see here today. She believed in me. She believed in me. I just couldn't believe that she believed in me. Though my journey was not easy, I made a decision to land where I wanted to land. That was my responsibility, to land where I wanted to land. So today, I can share with you guys that I am the proud parent of first-generation college graduates. From the historic Black College Prairie View. I am first-generation serial entrepreneur. I opened for 10 years. I operated a Time to Love Learning Center where over 90% of my kids were CPS cases. I loved and supported them. We were even nationally accredited. I went on to open Time to Love Ministry, 501c3, that empowers teen moms to continue to reach for the stars while I be that example for them. I became Arlington's first African-American, 100% owned female commercial driving school. And let me add this on there. It's only 8 of us in the United States. %30 of my clients have been incarcerated, some of them serving more than 25 years. To date, none of my students from the commercial driving school who's been in prison have returned to prison. We currently have a 96% success rate. And let me tell y'all, I never drove a truck before. Go figure. The girl is crazy, right? The girl is crazy. But one of my best and favorites, I'll say one of my favorites, is co-authoring and publishing my first book with my best friend, my daughter. That was amazing because I was able to give her something more than trauma. I was breaking curses with her. That is what values I have. And none of this would have been possible without God's grace. I have to thank God for being a lighthouse, for guiding me through some of my darkest moments, and guiding me to Arlington, Texas. Yes. And I have to thank the city of Arlington, the Dream City, for allowing me to live my American dream. Yes, it's my dream. To my kids and family and friends, thank you for being patient with me, Georgia, as I evolved into the woman I am today. To the best class ever, 22, y'all know what that means, for supporting me and challenging me to broaden my leadership skills out into the community. And last but not least, my sisters, the phenomenal women of the Women Alliance, for being the wind beneath my wings. I am Kenya Mobley. Yes, I experienced trauma at the age of 6, pregnant at 13, single mother of 2 at the age of 18. But it is through grit, grace, and resilience that I am not what happened to me. I am what I chose to become.